Portugal has been gaining popularity the past few years as a beautiful European destination, but is interest dropping? Is there still a reason for you to consider moving here? I'm Kalie.
And I'm Josh. This is Expats Everywhere Explores, the channel that gives you information on moving and living abroad. Let's explore Portugal.
Cost of living is probably one key reason that others have considered moving to Portugal. However, it will depend on where in Portugal you actually live.
Absolutely. Portugal is situated on the western part of the Iberian Peninsula with the Atlantic coast to its west and Spain to its east.
It has a similar look and size to the state of Indiana, as it's somewhat slender, covering nearly 36,000 square miles. This means it's about 2/3 the size of England.
Portugal is split into 7 regions, 5 are on the mainland, and 2 are islands.
If you're looking for a more tropical life, then you can consider the Azores, which is pretty far into the Atlantic, or Madeira, which is a bit closer to the mainland. These are part of Portugal, but they also have their own distinct government and constitutional framework.
Okay, back to the mainland. You'll get quite a range of climate as there are parts of Portugal where it snows. Check out Serra da Estrela if you want to experience mountains.
If you're looking for the beach, then you have lots of options as so much of Portugal is along the water, and this also includes plenty of internal rivers as well.
For example, the north is famous for the Douro River, which also produces amazing wine. Now, the north has temperate summers and mild winters, but you will catch more rain during the winter months. There are also microclimates that are outside the norm, like Braga, being quite north, but also getting hotter than a place like Porto in the summers.
Many people flock to the Lisbon region, which is more in the center of the country, but along the coast. Here you'll find less rain and warmer temperatures.
Earlier we mentioned the cost of living, and we're seeing prices getting quite high in the capital city and its surrounding cities. Cascais is a beautiful place to land because of the weather and vibe, but be prepared to pay high prices.
You'll definitely be paying higher prices for food and accommodations compared to smaller cities and towns. You can experience a small beach feel with more affordable prices if you move a little further north of Lisbon on the Silver Coast.
But maybe you're looking for much warmer weather, so that would lead you all the way south to Algarve.
You do have a fairly large airport in this region and some bus and train travel, but you'll likely want a car here. This goes for the Silver Coast as well, whereas in Lisbon and Porto, you can definitely live without a car if you don't want one.
Yep. Overall, train and bus travel around the country is quite easy and affordable.
A lesser known region is Alentejo, which has more extreme temperatures but produces really good wine. If you want a smaller town and slower pace of life, this might be the region for you.
Yeah, if you like it country. Just know that you will want to brush up on your Portuguese for this region specifically. There are less expats who move here and less tourists, so that means less English speaking.
For the most part, Portuguese have a very high English proficiency, but we always advise to learn the language of the country you live in.
Yep.
Portuguese can be difficult for some, and you might find it's easy to default to English because so many Portuguese speak English and are pretty kind to switch, but they're also kind to help you learn. So give it a go.
You'll notice that Algarve and Lisbon region have a lot more English speaking and overall mix of nationalities.
You'll also find region to region will have its own flair for food. The islands, of course, have amazing options for seafood. So maybe you'll want to try octopus, sea snails, or Madeira's famous black scabbard fish.
The mainland also has a variety of ways to eat codfish and sardines, but they're also really good at doing meat. Alentejo has black pork, there's also duck rice, and the north has its famous francesinha.
One of my favorites. You'll tend to get rice, some form of potatoes, a small side salad, and bread with traditional meals. It depends on the restaurant and what dish you get though.
For those of you who don't eat meat, you'll find many more vegetarian and vegan restaurants popping up with alternatives and their own dishes. For example, you can get a francesinha with eggplant or mushroom, but these kinds of restaurants tend to be more expensive.
We of course have to mention the variety of desserts available, as you'll see a bakery on every corner. The pastel de nata is the most famous, but they also offer loads of yummy treats. A lot are egg-based because of their history. A long time ago, the monks and the nuns would clean their clothes with the egg whites. They didn't want to just throw away the egg yolks, so they started making delicious desserts with them, and we still get these delicious desserts today.
Minimum wage in Portugal is currently 820 euros a month, so you can choose to work in Portugal with the proper work permit, or you can have a remote job, as there are visas available for this as well.
You can obtain the D7 visa if you have passive income or the D8 visa for active income. We have courses for either of these, which we'll put in the description below. There are other visa options as well to explore, but you'll need to apply from your home country or country you have been a fiscal resident of for some time.
In the cities, housing will be your biggest expense. There are many variables that go into this, so be sure to research where you want to be before you move.
If you choose to eat local foods and shop at small fruit shops and butchers, you can keep your food costs down. Portugal is famous for their wine, which is very affordable, and they also have many domestic beer options.
So overall, it's possible to keep costs down, but a lot will depend on where you live and what lifestyle you choose. Kalie and I currently live in Portugal and love it. So Kalie, we've lived in 5 countries outside of the US, so why do we live here in Portugal now?
Oh, we love it here. I would say that Portugal is very different. It's very unique depending on what region you're in. We currently live in the north and we love Porto, specifically because it's a city, but it's not overwhelming. It has a river, it has the beach, and so for us, it has all the amenities that we want, which is quite different from Lisbon and Algarve and a lot of other places. So we do love Portugal for a lot of reasons. Porto specifically is our place. What do you think?
Well, first I want to say if you do enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button, as that will help us out. Okay, so I think that Portugal is a fantastic place for a blend of cost of living, access for Americans like us, because it wasn't always, let's say, easy or straightforward to get a visa to live in Portugal.
Right.
Mainly the people that we knew were getting jobs here and then moving. And then it kind of opened up, about 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, visas were becoming more available to move here as an American. But cost of living, the friendliness of people, the safety, rated very high on safety indexes year in and year out. Those are some of the reasons why it's great to move here.
Right. Definitely safety, that's a big one. Cost of living, we do see that it is going up, but I think it was also quite low. I mean, we did talk about minimum wage being $8.20. It's not the average, that is higher, of course, but overall wages are still quite low. So there's a lot of room for growth. So we are seeing a rise in the cost of living over the past couple of years, but a lot of room to grow, I guess, because it was pretty low.
Well, and a rise of cost of living is happening globally.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Many countries are, let's say, suffering this
inflation and
inflation,
everything.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
Rises. That's true.
So it's been happening in the US, Canada, UK. I mean, it's making
European
the news.
countries.
A lot of European countries. Maybe some of the Asian countries are a little better in terms of not as much inflation that has hit.
Yeah, that's a good
but
point.
Still, cost of living is on the rise in most places. If you make a wage from outside of Portugal and bring it here, you'll probably be doing quite well.
Yes. I mean, obviously it'll be probably a higher, if you have a minimum wage from a country that's higher, or average wages are higher. So you're making more money here, but then you're also getting into the economy, boosting the economy, obviously paying taxes here and stuff. That's one thing you have to consider. So you're at least helping in that aspect. But as far as getting into Europe, I think a lot of people want to have the European lifestyle. That was one thing that I definitely love, because we have lived in a lot of places, and we were in Asia for a while. And when we thought about getting back to Europe, I was very interested in the European lifestyle, more of like the cafe. You go and you sit outside, you have a coffee or a wine, and you just have the social aspect. It's very family friendly on the Iberian Peninsula in general, so Portugal and Spain.
Yeah.
And so just that type of lifestyle is something that's really, really nice that I really enjoy.
The cool thing about Portugal, and we didn't know this until we moved here, and maybe we should have considered this, thought about it more, but it's a 5-year pathway to citizenship. So if you're a resident here for 5 years, then you can start your citizenship application. So 5 years to have a European citizenship, that is pretty fast. It's among the fastest.
It's one of the lower ones, yeah, especially for around Europe, because some of them, it's much higher, or you have to get rid of your current citizenship. There are some countries in Europe where you can't have dual. So here you can have dual, and it is a quicker path. Obviously, learning the Portuguese language is helpful, but like we mentioned, so many people speak English here, but to get your citizenship, you have to either take a certified class or pass a test. It's fairly low, A2, not too bad, but it's still something that you have to do. So brushing up on European Portuguese is important. But there's just a lot of pros to being here.
Yeah, and speaking of Portuguese, learning Portuguese, knowing Portuguese will definitely help integrate into the society better.
Of course.
Allow you to make deeper connections with people, which is really what we should all be striving for as people on the planet, period.
Wherever you live.
Wherever you live. But certainly that's what it will take to do that here, I think. Right?
Yes, I would say, so a lot of pros, but a big con
Cons,
that I
yeah.
think that people really notice is bureaucracy.
It's heavy.
Yeah, the way things are done, some people can say it's archaic or it doesn't make any sense or it's inefficient. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of paperwork.
Old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned. They love getting things notarized.
Yeah.
So that is a thing. So it is not for the faint of heart to go through paperwork, bureaucracy here, which you have to do for the visa. You have to do for a lot of things. So you just, patience is a big one.
Yeah, the other thing that sticks out that we hear a lot of people complain about, and even for us, we've suffered this as well, humidity is definitely a thing here. Most of the country, certainly most of the, well, even the islands, humidity is a problem in housing.
Yeah.
So if you have issues with humidity, like health issues with humidity already, you should really think twice
be
about
careful
moving here.
about where to live, because it could affect your lungs and your breathing. And a lot of the older accommodations, because of the way they're built, can get mold. So I think also if you have an issue, some advice would be to move into a new build, because it's less likely that you'll get mold, and you can obviously make sure that the place doesn't get moldy. But yeah, that is a big con as well.
Now, normally at the end of these videos, we like to say, would you expat that? But we already are expatting that. So if you want a more comprehensive breakdown of the cities in Portugal, then this video right here is for you. And maybe you want to compare Spain and Portugal, so click this video here to see which one is better for you overall from a variety of different categories that you should consider. Now, let's get moving.
Bye.
Bye.